Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Friday, March 1st, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card. We are starting our day off with today. You know what I like to say when we see this card, my friends? We don't go back to the sword store expecting puppies or kittens or volleyballs. We only go back to the sword store for one thing, and that is swords. Being able to recognize, and I need to stress this right now, bringing up the past may be coming into play today, but what is important about bringing up the past? We don't want to bring up the past in a way that we are just utilizing it to hurt one another. We utilize the past as an ability to heal things. So making sure that you're not necessarily going into that space where you're digging up things from the past and accidentally cutting yourself on them, but instead going through some difficulties or hurdles right now to be able to find and facilitate easement points going forward is going to be the watchword of the day for today. Masculine and feminine energy. I'm not surprised to see this in the divine union frequency. What did I say was happening over the last few days with the energy in the divine union frequency? Some tricky conversations coming up, potentially some conversations that are a little bit prickly to have, because what is happening right now? The energy in the divine union frequency is moving in a space or place of effectively articulating to the energy that they are in a divine union with what we could best describe as some energetic or spiritual blind spots. When we see one another, the beauty and benefit of being in divine union is having someone that's able to hold forth to you, to show a clear mirror to you of what you aspire and desire to be. I'm going to say this again. It's not what someone else wants you to be. It's someone who is holding the gift of what they know you aspire to be, your greatest version of self. They're utilizing that as a template to see and recognize something about and within you. And we see even now that there's a little bit of that work that's happening here that may be feeling most expressed in energy, articulating to another energy something about them that is hard for them to see themselves, but they may recognize is true. We were even seeing here that for the energy that it's experiencing this is creating a little bit of that, I told you, a little bit of that anxiety, because when someone shows you something about yourself, even if it's coming from a positive space, it can give that ability to potentially spiral out on it in that fear or anxiety, as we saw that a lot of the energy started looking back going, when did this start? How long have I been doing this? When did I start moving into that modality? When did that pattern arise? And that's why we see that for a lot of the energy right now, going back, not letting that be that moment that you effectively spiral out on, but instead utilizing that as a recognition point in what you can adjust and accommodate for going forward is effectively some of that energetic breakthrough that we've been talking about seeing right now, particularly for the energy in the divine union. It's difficult work right now too, because we see that for a lot of the energy in the divine union, I told you, there's been some conversations around specifically where you are now versus how you may have been when you first entered the divine union. That objective identification point that being in the divine union changes. It creates that space of personal evolution. You don't stay static in it, you adapt, you evolve. So that ability right now of comparison from then to now, making sure that that stays in a positive vibration and doesn't move into an accusational space right now, that's going to be kind of the watchword for today. Masculine and feminine coming into the divine union frequency, that ability, I told some energy fell into separation over this. If you were seeing someone that you were moving forward with and things were moving in a good direction, but suddenly you saw something that energetically didn't feel correct for you, if instead of moving into that space or place of inquiry, asking those questions, not from an accusatory space, not subjecting someone to your feelings, but expressing your feelings in a way that starts with those I am statements. I am feeling concerned. I see something that I don't understand. The energetic ability to immediately have a balm put on them, having that immediate moment of resolution or clarity brought forth, it immediately builds reassurance of coming into the divine union frequency, but it immediately engages and triggers deeper healing. Because this is that moment that the minute you receive something like that so easily, it harkens back to any situations and circumstances from the past wherein you weren't able to receive that. that healing. So we see even now, even if things are moving in a more productive way, it could be feeling a little energetically triggering because the way forward is almost forcing you to confront the way back, as it were. Masculine and feminine energy that's in separation right now, this ability to see, it's not the fact that there isn't something from the past potentially rising up here. It is building upon that determination point on recognizing and identifying if there's some kind of feeling here of something that has come into a point of change, something that can change, versus getting some point of recognition in something that cannot change right now. It is creating some of that energetic heaviness, again, having to look back in order to move going forward. So for the energies coming into resolution or restoration right now, this is not energy that's just willing and trying to sweep the past under the rug, if you will. This is doing that deep, intensive work on revisiting past circumstances and experiences, not from a place of accusation and blame, but from a moment and opportunity of restoration, almost bringing forth these things to be able to articulate and amplify what you will change moving forward. That is that productivity in pathwork, as it were. Masculine and feminine that are moving forward from this point, having not seen an ability for something to come into a healing space, feeling the temptation. I'll be straight up honest about it. We saw that energetically, that's confronting the temptation and possibility to move back into a vibration that would allow for a connection, but recognizing as you do so that it wouldn't be positive or healing. It would almost feel like that step backwards, if you will. Even that moment right now for a lot of the energy and separation, this is that moment of effectively, again, taking that point of personal accountability. I told you, for the energy doing this work right now, the healing immediately arrives back to you. That ability of understanding and not letting yourself move into that state or space of temptation. For feminine energy, kind of moving back into what might be best identified as something that feels more like a codependent relationship. For masculine energy, that point of recognition of a feminine that you may desire, but you're seeing that they would have to change too much about their own internal desire and needs to facilitate partnership with you. That ability to confront something and say, I'm not choosing that, not under those circumstances, is the moment that you see and you feel that energetic amplification of building into a state of healing. Because it's that moment that you're rejecting the possibility of going back to a past circumstance or experience, even knowing that the opportunity is there, because you're not trying to create more hurt. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Second card in our 5-card spread for today. We've got here, look at this beautiful combination right now. We've got our 9 of Cups in combination with our 7 of Cups. I told you that feeling of spiritual, energetic catharsis. For the energy that's making that choice right now, moving away from the tempting space of going back into something, seeing that there's an avenue or opportunity that's open there and saying, not under those circumstances, that's not healed. It's available, but it's not healed. That would be something that is detrimental or wouldn't be in our best interest. That ability of recognizing and making the choice, I told you that the right choice isn't always the easy choice. The catharsis and recognition that you're able to do that is the minute that the healing comes through, because that is that sense of personal accomplishment that arrives on that sense and recognition of doing what you know is the best thing to do, even if it is hard. That's immediately creating a lot of that spiritual or energetic catharsis coming in, because that is the accomplishment to a certain extent. Being able to operate in a state of openness and clarity that feels like it's creating that sense of abundance, because it's almost like welcoming in and saying, I know what I desire, but I'm not going to do anything possible in order to achieve it. Masculine and feminine that are coming into resolution around this, that ability to effectively be able to surrender something, to say, I'd rather surrender something than have it come towards me in a form or a formation that I know isn't healthy, is potentially allowing for some level or degree of resolution and healing to come through here. But what are we seeing that is showing the ability to heal? Being able to talk about the past, not being triggered by it, not having it bring the same triggers up, talking about it in a very effective way, to be able to compare how much something has changed. Even the ability right now, energetically, for some situations and circumstances or individuals to talk about the past in this way may be amplifying that something here has effectively changed, because someone can look back on the past, see it, and express it without it allowing it to become a volatility point. Masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union. This is that breakthrough energy. If you were going through moments right now where there are doubts and fears, seeing how someone was moving that was building anxiety about whether you guys were on the same page, what did I tell you needed to do? You needed to lead forth with the question. Leading forth with that question, being able to open up and inquire about it, immediately getting that answer, that balm of reassurance. It is effectively, again, it is now, that is the healing that comes through with the breakthrough of allowing yourself to do the vulnerable thing instead of the thing that may have kind of amplified a feeling of isolation or self-protection. So that ability to see that, it may feel like the challenge becomes new, because now the moment isn't the fact. It's suddenly the minute you receive that is the minute you got to realize that you have to now start to heal from anything that may not have given that to you as easily in the past. It's like, oh, now I've entered the healing phase. Now I've entered the place, because now I'm in an environment that's helping me see what I need to heal. And that's a lot of that looking back at the past, as it were. Masculine and feminine that are in the heart of the divine union frequency. This is why I told you that this is some of the most difficult work that's happening right now for the energy in the divine union frequency, because this ability to be able to look at the past and compare it to the present right now, but not let it become a triggering space or not becoming an accusational space, but just speaking with a lot of openness and clarity. This is some of the power that you get in the divine union frequency, but it can still feel a little difficult. It's not easy, right? But it's effective. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Third card in our 5-card spread. We have here, why do we want to do that? Why is the energy in the divine union frequency utilizing a point of comparison from how they were or where they were at the start of the entering the divine union versus where they are now? Because the recognition point of how much one has changed on the journey between opens up and creates a space or place of considering one's options to determine what the best direction is, finding yourselves where you are at this time. That's that moment that is amplifying the sense that the transformational power of the divine union frequency is not a static place. It's a place where you're constantly evolving, adjusting, changing. So this is why I keep seeing that this feels, again, very much like that energetic or spiritual spring cleaning, if you will, because this is that moment of seeing where you are as opposed to where you were when you started something, to make sure that you're still moving, and like instead to almost look and see if like your options are still the same, or if there is some kind of new option or alteration or adjustment that you need to make in your relationship to allow for easement going forward. Masculine and feminine that are coming into the divine union frequency, this ability to feel that anxiety point, to feel that uncertainty, but instead of letting yourself go running ragged on all of those doubts and fears, instead leading forth with them, presenting them to the other, what is immediately happening? I told you, an immediate balm being put on situations, circumstances, clarity being brought forth, reassurance. There's nothing that you can't bring forth in the divine union in relation to that I statement that isn't going to immediately resolve in some point of clarification being made. So that ability to do so right now, it feels like a breakthrough moment, but it's creating a moment that you have to look at the past, because suddenly you're looking at all points in the past that you didn't have that ease, and you're going, what the heck was that? What the heck was that? Why was that so difficult, right? You're seeing it with new eyes. Masculine and feminine in separation right now, this ability of looking right now and feeling that sense of recognition, having that point of understanding. One of the things that we're seeing that's so valuable and important right now for the energy and separation, something coming back from the past that is giving you clarity on the path work in the present. And that path work is either allowing for some kind of modality of resolution to come through, seeing some new, something coming back from the past, but being able to offer something new in lieu of what wasn't working in the past, or that moment of feeling if that did not occur, if the past came back in the same exact modality that may have led to the separation point in the like at present, this is that moment, leaving oneself open to new options, new possibilities, because this is that moment of observing a pattern and not desiring to want to repeat the pattern. Even here, we see that opportunity was there. We saw it even yesterday. A lot of energy, still feeling the weight of that energetic pull and seeing and realizing that something is there and available to them, but almost saying, but not under those conditions. Like not under those conditions, because it's almost seeing the pattern in something that like it feels like that choice would be one that you're kind of moving back into something you may know or feel inherently in your heart of you isn't necessarily what's right or best for you or another individual. Fourth card in our 5-card spread for today is, we have here our 5 of Swords in its reversal. This is that beautiful moment that we're potentially seeing right now, especially for a lot of the energy in separation, in building closure. And when I say building closure, this is that recognition point that closure is not something that we receive from another person. There are energies that can help facilitate closure for us, but ultimately it is within our own self. We are the ones that have to facilitate our own closure moment. For a lot of the energy right now, if there is a moment or modality where something came back in a big way, but there wasn't that ability in seeing something changing, it was just coming back in much the same state or space that led to the separation event in the first place. This is the affirmation, the personal sense of understanding, feeling like you are creating that sense of closure for yourself, because the ability to see that something hasn't changed is the closure point, because it doesn't indicate the desire or need that closure, that there isn't that hope that something may change, but the observation that one can't live in that space of hope. One can't hold on to something saying, maybe if I just wait a little bit longer, that energy will change, because that could be forever. Or maybe that energy doesn't want to change. We're seeing here that is allowing for a lot of this energetic closure, if you will, because that's that moment of holding on to some point of hope. You see, even here, this isn't that moment that feels like that energetic abandonment moment, specifically because we see that for a lot of this energy right now, this is feeling like the release that is some kind of profound act of love, if you will. That difficult act of love, moving something away from you, not because you don't care about it, but because you have profound amount of care and you feel like you're doing the right thing. So we see even now that moving forward and saying to oneself to a certain extent, we're not in alignment. That doesn't mean that we won't ever be in alignment. Perhaps someday will come that will allow for a better sense of resolution or restoration, but that time is not today. That is that moment that's immediately allowing for a point of karmic catharsis. Because even if there is that level or degree of hope that's being put towards situations and circumstances, it's not the type of hope that feels like some kind of energetic waiting, if you will. It's almost that confidence that one is receiving that feels like it is giving oneself permission to move forward on your own path. Getting that like immediate confirmation, as it were, with the opportunity to return back to something in an unhealed way, being wide open before you. Masculine and feminine that are coming into a point of resolution or restoration around circumstances of this nature. The very difference that we're seeing that is articulating that is not something coming back in with the same modality or the same problem that may have led to the separation in the first place. For feminine, it's masculine that recognizes that's been on a healing journey in the time in between, understands what they need to change and accommodate, giving forth instead of trying to build forth a relationship based on need or desire. For masculine, this ability to be able to see a feminine that is trying to articulate that they accept you in your fullness, they want to build with you, and if they rejected you at a time that you were trying to lead from a place of honesty and clarity, that wasn't because they weren't in alignment, it was because you potentially surprised them with something that you should have been more forthright with in the first place. We're seeing here a lot of that energetic catharsis coming in, that maybe a lot of discussion on the past and what you would do differently in the present. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now for the energy moving into the divine union frequency, this is having to look at the past at the moment that you get the clarity on how easy something can be when you ask a question and get an immediate, a fast answer back. So for a lot of the energy right now that's going through this modality, wherein again, instead of letting yourself run rampant with your doubts and fears, just putting them forth and immediately having that balm of explanation and clarity put forth on them, that breakthrough moment is now making you kind of reassess all the things that may have led prior to this point where you didn't receive it, because those are those new eyes that you're seeing, almost immediately starting to help you build a better understanding of closure on those events, because you're receiving something that you didn't necessarily get in those past experiences. For masculine and feminine, coming into divine union, or in the heart of the divine union, this is why I told you this is a little bit more energetically difficult right now, because we see there's some unpacking of the past that's potentially occurring right now. That is that observational point that a lot of the energy in the heart of the divine union is having right now, that is almost creating a space of comparison on how much you may have changed in the intervening time that you've been in the divine union, to try to ascertain and understand and recognize if you need to make any accommodations or adjustments going forward, bearing in mind that you have changed. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, fifth card in our 5-card spread for today is Queen of Swords in its reversal. What did I tell you about the feminine energy not wanting to necessarily make any big moves right now? This may have even been some of that like difficulty that we're seeing right now energetically that was leading to some difficult conversations right now, because I told you the masculine energy right now wants to move at a lot more faster clip in relationality to the confidence that they're building right now in being in the divine union, and just wanting to like pull some, I'm going to keep saying, pull some timelines into the present, like manifest the goals a little bit faster here. This is the feminine energy continuing to potentially feel somewhat vulnerable in that modality. There's something about the feminine energy coming into that point of confidence today that may feel a little bit triggering, as it were. And we want to be very conscientious of this feminine energy, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to make sure that you recognize. And remember what I told you yesterday about recognizing and not necessarily moving into that victim mentality. And I need to stress here, we don't mean that in a state or space where like we aren't saying that there aren't people who have been victimized, but rather the difference in feeling like holding something that is sensitive, that maybe not necessarily is supposed to be triggering, but someone is giving forth that is hitting something that feels sensitive. We recognize the difference between those spaces. We see here that this is sensitive spaces. This is hard areas for the feminine to discuss right now. There's something here that is almost like opening up some feminine vulnerability in relationality to potentially observing and understanding how to move forward from this point, right? Even now, we've been seeing that there's been some like deep transformational processes that are potentially occurring right now for the feminine energy that are creating, I told you, that sense of security, with the feminine energy becoming and feeling more vulnerable in the security that the divine union provides. But even now we see that this is feminine energy that may sometimes lose confidence in their own self or in their own abilities. So even now we see that a lot of the feminine energy in the divine union frequency is working through some of this internally right now. Masculine energy in the divine union frequency, you may be seeing a feminine in this modality. And what is the masculine energy doing right now to potentially help feminine energy that is in this modality right now? They are effectively offering support. They're offering stability. They're offering emotional, energetic compassion here to help amplify to feminine to a certain extent. And I think that this is the important thing that masculine is potentially even trying to show feminine here. That some of this is the direct result of the breakthrough of being in the divine union frequency, right? This is the masculine energy, and we're seeing this. A lot of this masculine energy right now is working through helping some of the feminine energy in this modality, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. I'm getting silk to steel. How does one stay soft but also strong? How does one stay soft but also strong? So we see even now for masculine energy working through that right now with the feminine, right? Not wanting to see the feminine become so vulnerable that they feel like they're not into a point of strength. This is a little bit of that, like I told you, some of that energetic fine tuning, if you will, which is why we see a lot of the masculine energy right now is pulling back on their own like veracity, because this is masculine energy that doesn't want to feel like the feminine's just coming along for the ride, right? Masculine doesn't want the feminine just to say okay and being like, no, I don't want an okay from you. I want you to want, like, we want to be in the same place. And so there's almost like a nuance that's happening right now in the divine union frequency that's almost trying to show feminine that their own ability to go with the flow may sometimes not necessarily be what we consider that divine union energy, right? So this is almost, again, that silk to steel energy that we're seeing here. Masculine, and this could be a moment, I have to stress this right now, this could be masculine getting a little bit frustrated at a feminine that does just seem to kind of like go with the flow a bit too much. Masculine and feminine coming into the divine union frequency. What did I tell you was happening right now that was potentially leading to some circumstances or situations that may have potentially created a little bit of volatility, potentially even some energy falling into separation over this? Feminine is moving into divine union right now, and what's happening to feminine as they move into divine union? They're slowing down. They're moving more, they're like the wind's coming out of the sail. They're moving more slowly. And that's why that can potentially be triggering to some masculine that sees that, recognizing though that isn't necessarily indicative of a feminine getting cold feet, so much as a feminine feeling the anxiety of not wanting to mess things up. I told you, this is like not wanting to like mess up the soup if the soup's in a good space, right? Feminine, if the feminine finds the soup in a good space, feminine is like, we should just leave the soup like this. And masculine is like, what if we make a bigger soup? What if we make the soup like super soup, like is what we've been seeing. So even now, this could be feeling like a bit of the energy, getting that clarification point. Again, if you didn't let yourself just move away from each other or fall into separation, seeing an energy moving in the same direction as you, but in a different way, this is potentially masculine that is helping the feminine energy build up a little bit more of that resilience, taking a little bit more of that confidence, if you will, being like, well, what if we just do a little bit of adjusting to the soup? Because that's that moment that we're almost seeing here, that like, again, this is that building of a connection via seeing and expressing the doubts, fears, and anxieties, as it were. The only problem right now is feminine is at that moment where feminine is looking a lot towards the past and being like, I don't want to mess something up here. I'm moving very conscientiously. And masculine saying to a certain extent, you're not going to. I'm not going to let those things happen. This is a place that, like, this is that assurance space, because this is, again, that feminine energy that's continuing to seek that consistency on the part of the masculine energy. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is that modality that we are effectively seeing and recognizing that can be best clarified in either the energetic clearing or closing out of cycles or the restoration moment. For both energies right now, we see that if this is that point of closing out of the cycle, it doesn't necessarily feel like a point of closure, because we're seeing here that some of these energies that are moving away from something right now, it's almost the observation point that you feel the full weight of what could be best articulated as an unhealed karmic connection right now. So someone that you may feel a lot of that energetic or emotional connection to, but recognizing that you're on very different paths. For the feminine energy moving forward in this way, it's heavy. It's hard. It's vulnerable. It's understanding that you're holding space for someone, but you're recognizing that you can't be with them. That the circumstances are not akin to something being positive or healthy doesn't eradicate or remove the level of care or concern you may feel for someone right now. So recognizing this for a lot of the feminine energy, it's vulnerable work. It's energetically difficult, but we see even now, and even for the feminine that's experiencing that, feeling that weight of the possibility still being present to be in connection with that energy, but seeing that they're not in a space that feels like it's emotionally or spiritually healthy. This is that moment that the feminine is almost coming into that act that feels a little bit like the catharsis that we meet with surrender. Because this is a feminine energy that's accepting that they're going to feel like that, but also affirming that they're going to move forward feeling like that. That's a feminine energy saying, I need to accept that I'm just going to feel like this going forward. That doesn't mean I'm going to stay here and wait for someone to energetically heal. I'm just going to have to hold this space in my heart as I move forward from this point. Masculine, if you're in the healing space and you're doing the same thing, you're seeing a feminine that you've been open and honest with, but you recognize that they're trying to twist and contort and change and adjust themselves all kinds of ways that you're seeing are like far beyond what you know is truly them, trying to hold their aspiration in your heart. This is that act of love of pushing someone away, and even at the time that they're asking you not to. That again, feels like that energetic pain point because it's not coming from a lack of love. It's coming from the opposite of that. It's coming from the profound expression of love that says, I love you and I want what's best for you. So this is almost the masculine taking that like moment of stoicism saying, I love you so much that I want you to be on the path that I know that you need to be, even if it's not with me. So feeling and experiencing that for the masculine right now is very painful because it could even be with a feminine that they realize and understand doesn't see that that's happening, right? Masculine and feminine that are coming into a point of resolution or restoration around circumstances of this nature right now. This is coming through with, again, feminine moving with a lot of trepidation if there's a path of acceptance here, because again, this is feminine energy that needs to see the actions match the words. Masculine the same, if this is a feminine that you're coming into restoration with, because again, this is the articulation of a feminine saying, I accept you fully, but you just surprised me. You didn't bring something forward correctly. This is that adjustment. This is the energy coming into healing by discussing the past and talking about what they will change. For masculine, this is potentially saying that you'll be more open with feminine going forward. For feminine, this is masculine articulating and saying and showing the expression of seeing that they were putting you in a state that you couldn't be your most vulnerable, authentic sense of self because you were doing too much work trying to energetically support something here. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Six of Swords in its reversal and our Nine of Cups. One card to clarify, please. Clarification. Hangman. A little bit of that wait and see energy happening here. It's hard, especially for the energy right now in separation. Because again, if you're coming into karmically clearing out a cycle, I have to stress, karmically clearing out a cycle doesn't mean that all of your feelings just vanish in the moment that you realize why you can't necessarily be with someone or why that path work is leading you into separate places. Being able to hold steady through that, though, understanding the reasons why, it makes it sustainable. It makes it manageable. It doesn't make it like, it's just accepting the situation for what it is, feeling it, being able to sit and ground yourself in that emotionality, being able to just observe it. And what are we seeing that the energy right now that's getting that immediate healing coming through and making this intentional karmic choice in recognizing and identifying and saying to oneself, I care about someone profoundly, but we are in very different places. And I even see the opportunity of being able to move back with them, but it wouldn't be a healthy thing. That ability is that point of recognizing the power of one's own ability to do the difficult thing. That is the gift of giving oneself that ability of choosing what you know is right versus what you desire that you know is easy. So we see even now for a lot of the energy that's going through this is almost feeling like a spiritual or energetic upgrade because it's almost coming into that moment that feels like, the suffering. But this isn't false suffering. This is suffering and saying to oneself, I am suffering because my love for someone is requiring me to do something that is hard for me to do. Being able to hold that modality in this is that energetic spiritual expansion moment because it's fully being able to embrace both the love and the pain around a circumstance or situation that could articulate your own expansion point. Masculine and feminine that are coming into a point of healing in moments of this nature, this ability of identifying and recognizing, not being able, and again, what is the energy right now that's coming into a point of healing or catharsis from separation doing? They're observing the past. You're not pretending or sweeping it under the rug or pretending that something didn't happen. You're not going back to status quo here. You're being able to articulate on the past with a level and degree of openness that expresses that you're able to change the past. We're able to talk about the past and what we would change when we're ready to change it. So even the ability to articulate upon this right now, it may be hard. It may be painful work because you can't change it, but you need to do it in order to facilitate and articulate what is going to change. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. Having that point of uncertainty, being able to express that point, recognizing the energy, the energetic love of the divine union says there is not a question that you cannot ask that will not immediately be responded to with an answer. With that security is immediately the moment that you start looking and going, I got to heal from some stuff I didn't realize I had to heal from. Because that's that moment that you're looking back at the past with new optics. And it's painful. It's bittersweet because you're feeling the satisfaction of the moment and suddenly seeing and experiencing the struggle from a past in a way that you haven't even been able to articulate and define in previous to this. Masculine and feminine in the heart of the divine union right now. You can see right now a little bit, I want to describe this as like, I got to say, this is a little bit of that tense energy, if you will, that's coming into the heart of the divine union frequency right now. Because we're seeing that for both energies, this is pushing each other into a little, remember I kept saying the pushing one another into like a little bit of a discomfort zone. And I have to stress here, like when we push someone into a discomfort zone, that's not like pushing someone over the edge of their own comfort level. This is helping someone, motivating them to push past their own limitations in a way that you feel is positive, productive, bringing them into their best version of self, not for one's own desire and need, but because you're holding space for what you know they aspire to be. So being able to identify this right now, showing each other where those limitations are, it's tricky work. It may even feel like somewhat triggering. It may feel like it stings a little. But again, being able to identify and recognize it is, again, affirming the differences and changes that have occurred from the time you entered the divine union to now. Because even now, it's almost that moment of not wanting to let yourself become stagnant in the divine union frequency. This is almost that energy of saying, like, let's not allow ourselves to become stagnant here. If we feel like there's stagnancy, let's see if we can come into that space or place of recognizing where we can come into some points of accommodation or adjustment. Spring energetic, emotional spring cleaning. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Nine of Cups in combination with our Four of Cups. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now. Look at this. We've got the World card coming through here. Masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency. This is all about, again, trying to move forward in a productive fashion. The energy in the divine union, it's not like you come into, it's not like happily ever after. You don't just pop into the divine union and then everything's just the way it is for, all the time. It requires constant navigation, constant alteration, constant adjustment, constant evolution. So what we're effectively seeing here right now is for the energy in the divine union frequency, this is that moment of seeing where you are now. It may be very different than where you were when you started. It may feel very different in terms of who you are, how things have changed. This could be a lot of that like back tracing from where you came from to where you are now to ask yourself if there's any modifications that are needed here or new opportunities that have opened up given the strength and the vitality of the energy in the divine union. Masculine, and it feels productive. It's difficult because some of it feels a little bit like, again, taking some of that energetic risk, not being sure, like pushing that envelope, if you will, but not in a way that feels like it's going off a cliff. It feels more about like coming out of your comfort zone a little bit. Masculine and feminine in separation, this moment is amplifying what feels like an acceptance point in relationality to holding space, either if this is a moment of separation, not necessarily seeing the change that one needs evidence to see in order to facilitate a healthy connection, but still holding space and recognizing that one's feelings don't necessarily they don't just effectively eradicate or stop because you see that there's something there that isn't viable in relationality to a connection. This ability right now to hold space for the fact that you've got that energetic connection that you need to hold forth with, that that is still a part of you, but also feeling that affirmation of having made the right choice and moving forward. This is what is allowing for that cycle to progress right now, because this is that moment that basically says, I can walk and chew gum. I can hold space and recognize the care that I felt for someone, recognizing that we are on different paths while also proceeding forward. One does not discount the other. It's not like one knocks the other one out of the way. That's that moment of saying, I can hold back and I can hold space for that as I push forward. And that is what we see with that heart opening exercise, that expansion that feels a bit like, again, the positive and the negative, because when we stretch our heart space, it doesn't just move in one direction. It's that extra energy of feeling in a bigger way. For a lot of the energy right now, this is hard. You may not necessarily have felt this before, but understanding and recognizing this to a certain extent, being able to recognize that pull you feel isn't trying to say that you're going in the wrong direction. It's just telling you effectively that your heart has a lot of rooms in it. It can hold a lot of stuff. Even now we see is allowing for a lot of energetic breakthroughs and being able to take some of that, a lot of this energy saying, I can move forward in this way. I can hurt while I'm healing. I can hold this energetic love while also recognizing that I'm doing what is best. That ability to do that is the nuance and the articulation that's happening right now energetically for a lot of the energy moving forward. That is that facilitation of healing, immediately coming back into your own heart space. Masculine and feminine that are coming into healing over these situations and circumstances right now, the ability to observe what needs to be changed, to be able to articulate on it in a positive, productive fashion, is what is allowing and facilitating new productivity in these partnerships, because it is seeing something that is different, that is breaking a cycle. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Four of Cups in combination with our Five of Swords in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Six of Cups in its upright, which we love to see because this card was in its reversal yesterday. So, masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency. Again, this observation point, this nuance, this is so important. Because this is that moment of energetically supporting one another and fully embracing each other, even as you consider the path forward right now. What's nice about this is that moment that if there was any of that triggering that was potentially coming through yesterday in someone bringing up some kind of energetic or spiritual blind spot, not letting yourself move into that space of being getting guarding off from it, just coming into that point of personal observation. The difference between someone telling you something because they want to move you in a way that feels like it would serve them best versus someone saying I see what you aspire to be and I feel like I'm trying to show you this from a point of support and help. That ability, even now, is feeling the amplification in terms of moving deeper into the heart of the divine union frequency, because it's almost reminding you. And this is even why we see a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency, remembering moments wherein someone may have utilized those spaces in a less than positive way, maybe some of the trigger that was hit. Because energetically here, we're seeing that is the difference between someone saying something accusatory about you because they feel like it will put them in a good position, versus someone that is trying to bring something to your attention because they feel like it is honestly something that will help and assist you. So we see even now for the energy in the divine union frequency, experiencing that energetic support even as you navigate a personal hurdle right now. It's allowing for a lot of energetic breakthroughs because it's feeling the emotional support that is almost allowing you to confront something in a way that you haven't necessarily confronted it before. Because now it's like you're confronting it, but you're not confronting it because someone's holding it over your head as a point of shame. Someone's saying it in a way of trying to give you that energetic support to help you facilitate your own healing. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. If you just gave each other that clarity, if you were feeling those doubts and fears and seeing a way someone was moving that didn't make sense, and you would just ask the question instead of being motivated to do something out of alignment because of the way someone else was looking like they were out of alignment, immediately getting that bomb of clarity to help you get that reassurance point is, again, exactly like I said, what is happening for the energy in the divine union. Feeling the supportive energy of what feels like it is a positive energetic connection that's making you have to revisit things from the past that you didn't experience that. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is that feeling, and I have to stress, this is actually kind of beautiful here, because there's a moment here that I think that we're seeing that for a lot of energy right now, this would have created some kind of unhealed karmic connection. What's happening right now that's very interesting about this is the fact that this isn't feeling so much like an unhealed karmic connection, because while there is that pull there, understanding and being able to recognize the pull, being able to recognize that energetic feeling of feeling an emotional connection from someone via love, but also realizing and recognizing that you're on different paths, it allows for the amplification of feeling the energetic connection, but not in a way that feels like it is disruptive. It's something that you're almost learning to facilitate and heal in a bigger, better way, because you're looking at it more as a heart expanding exercise, as opposed to fearing or feeling that that feeling means you're doing the wrong thing. No, that's doing the right thing, but feeling the energetic equivalent of the energetic healing that you're doing in doing the right thing. For the energy that's coming into a state of healing and catharsis, this is that moment of feeling the expression of having done the right thing and seeing the results of it, which is energy coming back in a way that is articulating an ability to modify, adjust, accommodate, and change, and not feeling like that is a false sense of self, feeling and experiencing someone who has gone on a healing journey in the intervening time. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Five of Swords and its reversal in combination with our Queen of Swords and its reversal. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now with our Five of Pentacles. Holding space. Grounding yourself in the feeling. Not letting yourself be motivated away or off your path because of a feeling, but instead utilizing intentionality to focus on what you feel is best. We see that for a lot of the energy in separation right now, it is immediately providing a level or degree of grounding here, because that is that moment that is almost allowing you a point of clarity of purpose. You're like allowing yourself to move forward. You're not saying to yourself, I can't get over this person, so I guess I shouldn't go anywhere. This is that energetic equivalent of saying, I can't get over this person, because you are showing that expression of saying, I've got love in my heart for that person. I put countless effort in trying to heal from this person. That observation point that we're seeing that a lot of the energy and separation is having, that is saying, I can move into a facility and capacity where I can recognize that I can have a lot of energy of care, love, and affection in my heart for someone while also moving away from them. We can energetically walk and chew gum. We can do that hard work and recognize that that doesn't mean a lack of care. It can almost amplify a profound amount of care. We are seeing is creating a moment that is a deeply grounding moment, even in a space or place that feels like it may have created something in the past that would have felt more akin to an energetic rift or an unhealed karmic connection. Because that ability to recognize and understand that is, again, it's affirming the positive aspect of a connection, even if it isn't immediately resulting in a tangible expression of connection. For feminine, this is very vulnerable work. It may be feeling very vulnerable to be in this modality, because this is that moment of feminine accepting the emotional and energetic connection from the past, but recognizing and saying to themselves, I just need to ground. That doesn't mean I'm going in the wrong direction. This is almost a feminine in separation going, I just need to ground in the fact that, like, yeah, I'm always going to be vulnerable to that. That's not showing that there's something that was wrong in this modality. This is feeling that sense of that soft spot, that energetic, emotional soft spot, as you move away from something, that you aspired and desired for something else to have result. So even now we see for a lot of the feminine energy, being able to hold that firm within, make room for that, if you will, it's creating a very energetically grounding moment, even in a moment that one feels like the past is coming through. Because again, this is either feminine energy seeing the fact, like getting that emotional, like checkpoint and being like, okay, that is clearly not healing. That person still doesn't feel like something needs to change on their end. There's something here that's showing some express point that either they don't want to heal or we're on very different paths, and it's not the feminine's responsibility to try to heal something or someone that does not desire to be healed. This is the feminine energy just saying, I have to accept that, right? That's that point of acceptance. Or this is feminine energy that is seeing masculine approaching back and saying, I understand why you moved away from me. I understand why you were so vulnerable. I understand. I'm ready. I can give forth in this. And again, feminine taking a wait and see approach to see if that is occurring. Masculine, if this is a feminine that's coming towards you right now from a point of healing, if this is either feminine that is basically saying that there's a healing possibility here, anything that led to a rejection space was not a feminine that was truly rejecting you, but coming into a space of being surprised with what you were presenting them. This is also taking that wait and see approach, but with a lot of accountability here to try to earn back the feminine energy's trust. While for masculine energy, if there's a feminine here that I see is too malleable, too adaptable, too willing to change, adjust, accommodate, alter themselves to be in union with you, this is masculine saying, I don't want to be in partnership with you under these circumstances. I don't want to feel like you are contorting yourself to find that acceptable version of self that can be in alignment with me. Because masculine, you're seeing that that's something that you yourself are healing from. So even now, your ability to hold space for that energetic connection, to realize that you're feeling a lot of care, degree, and empathy, but at the same time, you're not holding on to them from a possessive way. You're making that difficult choice and letting them kind of go, as it were, because you know that you're not in alignment. Immediately emotionally grounding, because you again are feeling the energetic connection towards someone, but holding firm and doing what you know is best for them instead of putting what is best, what you would energetically desire, like on the top, like on the top priority. And that's that moment of feeling that security and stability coming forth. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Hangman and our World card. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through. It's hard. It's painful. What I just tell you, it's not for some of the energy right now. This is accepting the situation for what it is. This is asking for the strength to accept what one can't change. And this is why we see now that a lot of that energy here, being able to almost accept that this is not something that is effectively energetically going to go away, that making the choice and looking at something and saying to oneself in a practical way, that is not energetically a positive place for me to be, doesn't mean that there's some kind of energetic or emotional connection that immediately gets ended at the moment that you have that logical observation point. This is that moment that we're seeing that a lot of the energy in separation is learning the power of their own heart space. Because this is masculine and feminine in a point of separation. If they're not seeing that ability to heal, saying, I can hurt and still heal. I can be hurting and still know I'm making the right choice. I can hold space for how I feel about that situation or circumstance, and I can still move forward. That doesn't mean that like I'm going to like stay in forever in that space. This is that energetic effort of saying, I know I have to feel like this going forward. It hurts. It's not easy. But energetically, there's that moment of saying, I need to proceed. I need to continue forward feeling like this, even if it is energetically heavy, with the hope that as you move forward, it will get easier to bear. Masculine and feminine that are coming into that point of resolution with some energy right now, the ability of someone to see and identify and articulate what the blockage point may have been in the past, to be able to facilitate a more positive outcome in the future. There's grief there. There's sadness. There's still a lot of healing that needs to happen for what may have occurred in the past. It's slow work, but there is that channel of opportunity opening up here. Masculine and feminine. If you just had a moment that you were seeing the energy you were coming into divine union with moving in a weird way, and instead of letting yourself assume the worst, you led with the questions and immediately got a productive, immediate answer. Your own ability to see and experiencing that creates immediate breakthrough, because the ease that someone creates in terms of having that reassurance point is immediately amplifying all the places in the past that asking those questions would not have rendered or yielded such an immediate bomb put on those situations and circumstances. So again, this is that moment of feeling like, wow, now the healing begins, because as you move into the divine union frequency, it's not that you let go of any of the connections that were leading up to that point. It's just you almost look at them with a little bit more pain and sadness, if you will, because you're seeing the fact that those were the places and spaces that weren't providing what is needed to create that supportive energetic frequency. Masculine and feminine, in the heart of the divine union frequency right now, this is why this is such hard work right now for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency, because what we're effectively identifying right now for the energy in the divine union frequency, having that modality right now, observing where you are now, realizing and understanding that where you are now may have changed tremendously from where you were when you first came into the divine union frequency. It's allowing for a more productiveness. But do you see how energetically right now these two energies are not moving in the same directionality? I told you, they're counterpart energies for a reason. That doesn't mean they always move in lockstep with each other. They bring up a point that may feel counter to the other to be able to find that point, that midpoint, that point of moderation, that point of compromise that leads to productivity here. So this is why energetically right now in the heart of the divine union, this could be feeling a little bittersweet. Why? We got one energy here that wants to stay in where they are. They want to hold on to where they are. They want to stay in there feeling like they want to extract every drop of that before needing to change, right? One energy is saying, again, that's that amplification of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Why change anything? Everything's fine like this. Don't touch the soup energy versus this is actually the masculine energy going, or we could stir the soup. We could move things forward. We could add stuff. We can't stay in this modality forever. So we've got these two energies right now. One's going, and the other one's going. So what are we seeing? Both energies pushing each other out of their comfort zone in a way that could feel somewhat frustrating. Acceptance, begrudging acceptance might be like the watchword for the day right now for some of the energy in the divine union frequency, right? Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our world card in combination with our Six of Cups. Beautiful cards. What did I tell you? Masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency, trying to find that midpoint, trying to find that point of comfort, right? And it doesn't come from pushing, like masculine doesn't want to feel like they're dragging the feminine down the line, if you will. Like this is masculine wanting the feminine to have that like encouragement. That's why masculine's trying to give him a little bit of that it's almost like that pep talk, like that energetic pep talk is what we're almost seeing here, because this is the desire and the ability to find that like point of agreement that will allow for productivity. It's a little bit difficult for both energies right now, because for both energies, you're coming out of your comfort zone a bit. Masculine, feeling like you need to slow down. Feminine, feeling like you need to take a risk and speed up. Both of those energies right now kind of, rubbing clumsy shoulders against each other, if you will. But what does that lead to? What feels comfortable for both energies? Where is that midpoint? Where is that intersection between one person's desires versus the other person's desires? Where are those two vectors going to meet? So we see here for a lot of the energy in the divine union that is taking something difficult and turning it into something productive. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. You're having the same exact moment, because again, observing We saw here, you might have gotten clarification on why someone was moving in a different way, even though they were desiring the same thing as you right now. Doesn't stop the fact that that isn't still happening. You just understand it now, right? You understand it, but now you still have to do the same thing as the energy coming into that's already in the heart of the divine union. Masculine and feminine in separation. This is that act of love via restraint. I'm telling you right now, there's some energy right now. It's not the fact that you don't see some pathway back to something that you know is available to you that you want very much. It's recognizing the difference between desiring something very much and knowing it's not best for you. Or, even more importantly, for feminine, it is wanting something very much and knowing that it's not a healthy environment for you and the other person. For masculine, it's very much the same. So that ability right now of coming into separation and saying, my love and empathy and care for you is making me do something that I don't even want to do, but I know I have to do. That's that difficulty point that we're seeing that is occurring here. And it's that moment that feels, again, there is that point that there's something that's observable here that feels like there's some kind of hope or aspiration that something might change in the future, but not waiting for it. Almost saying, I'll know when it's changed because they'll be the first to tell me, effectively. Like, I'll know when it's that's why the energy is moving forward, saying, if it's healed, I don't need to wait around for it to heal. If it's healed, it will know and it will be ready to articulate and tell me. Like, that's almost like what the energy is saying right now. Masculine and feminine in separation as they proceed forward. Doing the right thing, but not necessarily feeling like it's the easy thing right now. For masculine and feminine that are coming back into partnership, this is someone telling someone that they understand, that they know, that they're willing and able to make those changes. And even now, both energies that are experiencing or seeing that are taking that wait and see approach, as it were. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Six of Cups in combination with our Four of Pentacles. Clarification coming through right now with our King of Pentacles. This is good. Masculine and I mean here's the thing. Okay. It's not going to be so good if you're in divine union right now. I mean that in a good way. This is why. Okay, so why the reason I say that is these two together, this is exactly what I was saying was potentially happening right now that could feel like a little bit of a clumsy area right now. Make sure that you're moving this in productive spaces if you're in the divine union frequency. What's masculine saying? I told you, masculine's trying to get feminine into this like silk to steel mentality, right? Vulnerable, but not just vulnerable to whatever the masculine's trying to put forth. This is feminine, like masculine that wants a feminine that like wants the same things as the masculine. So we see even now, this is masculine that is implying and implementing that grounding energy. This is the masculine being like, I know how to create that grounding force. This is masculine in the divine union, recognizing, being so self-aware that they even see the fact that if there's a feminine that's near them that's going like, whatever you want, like whatever you want to do, this is masculine going, no. That's not, you saying whatever you want is not the same as saying what you want, like what you aspire for. This is almost that, I told you, masculine trying to help the feminine with that act of resilience, being able to be vulnerable, but not so vulnerable that they go into that state of just kind of being like that in itself is what masculine's trying to help the feminine with right now. While feminine may be potentially articulating to masculine that masculine can be a little, I don't mean this in a bad way. It's like giving that energy of a masculine that like when they persistent is the word that I see here. So we see even now, depending on how this plays, like this could be one of those moments. some of this energy, this, I gotta say, for the energy of the divine union right now, this really depends on like where you are astrologically in terms of how this plays out to a certain extent. Because this could either be, I'm telling you right now, this could be a very productive, empowering conversation. This could be like a Braveheart moment, or this could be something that feels a little bit more like that, like someone being a little too like, this could, I need to stress, nobody be passive aggressive today, is what I'm trying to say. Don't be passive aggressive. Don't do it. It's not cool. Just don't be passive aggressive, especially feminine energy. Don't be passive aggressive today, because it's not going to help things. It's going to potentially make things more difficult. It's going to be something that's like called out potentially. I'm seeing here, if someone's moving in a passive aggressive way today, that in itself may be articulated upon. Okay. So masculine and feminine energy here. This could be that moment that, again, trying to recognize and identify what it is that you ideally want, as opposed to feeling like, and this is the difference, and this is why this is like a tricky conversation now, because we saw here a lot of this energy is coming into that point of moderation, but not enough moderation or what's the word? Not enough like compromise, that it feels like you're compromising yourself. That's it. We're seeing here the energy in the divine union is being comfortable enough with themselves right now to try to find that midpoint. I told you, the pushing of the envelope that doesn't feel like someone is getting shoved, right? That's that gentle reassurance as opposed to the push, which is why we see right now there may be a lot of conversations that feel like they're building around the difference between someone saying, I'm okay with that, versus someone saying, I desire that, right? Trying to find and articulate on that nuance may be coming through heavily right now in relationality to the energy in the divine union, right? The adjustment of what you can change outside the self without feeling like you're compromising the internal self. Masculine and feminine energy right now. Feeling and experiencing that is the same thing that you're potentially having coming into divine union. This energy coming into divine union right now, if you went through all of this, you're pretty much almost there. Like, these energies are very much in alignment right now. The same conversations may be happening, but this is more coming through the observation now, having had that insight moment in seeing that someone potentially desires the same thing you do, but has like a different way of going about it. For the masculine energy, I told you, for the feminine, this is that moment that feels a little bit like trauma recovery, recognizing all the spaces in the past where not receiving that may have like immediately like created this like moment of feeling this like anxiety, this doubt, this fear, this sudden like recognition of all these spaces or places that may not necessarily have been leading towards divine union because they weren't creating that bomb of clarity. Whereas for masculine, this is that moment that is like truly showing that masculine, your own ability to be strong, to be stable, not to hold in, to recognize that you can be in a state or space where you can articulate and amplify your doubts and fears. What's happening to masculine right now? If you just led forth and opened up about them and immediately had the reassurance, you're getting that reminder of all the places and spaces where you might have held back too much. And holding back, this is why we see even now, it could be that insight moment and clarity in the past and recognizing how if you had led forward in this way, there may have been different outcomes. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. One of the things that we're effectively seeing is for the energy that's in separation. This is that moment. I told you, for the masculine, this is a profound act of healing that's coming through right now for a lot of the energy in separation. This ability to see potentially a feminine that's like willing to do anything to be with you, but saying under no circumstances am I allowing that to be the case, because you've just come into that understanding of coming into like alignment with yourself. This is almost you doing that moment of saying, like, again, trying to move a feminine energy away from you, saying, I'm doing this. I know you don't understand this. I'm doing this for your own good. I'm doing this because I feel like this is my expression of love for you. So for the masculine energy that's experiencing that, this is like feeling almost like a profound maturation process, because that's that moment of masculine saying, like, I'm doing what I know is right, even though it's difficult, and even though it's hard, and even though it's pushing me away from the thing, from the person that I desire. That's having that act of love that is most expressed in wanting to what's best for someone, as opposed for what one desires of someone. Feminine, same thing. If this is a modality right now, feminine, that you're effectively seeing a masculine that's coming towards you and they don't show an ability to change, they're coming back in the same energy that may have led to separation. This is feminine energy healing by saying, it's not my responsibility to heal someone that doesn't feel like there's anything to be healed. This is the feminine energy saying, if that energy doesn't think there's anything wrong, me coming back into union with them isn't going to be the wake-up call. They could be like that the rest of their lives. They could be like that for every other second of the rest of their lives. They're always going to be like that. And that's why we see even now that ability to move away from an energy, if that's the expression, it also feels hard because it's for feminine. It's not the fact that there isn't a possibility of building forth with a masculine in that modality. It's seeing exactly what that will look like for the rest of your days. Because moving back into something that is unhealed is basically the equivalent of pouring concrete all over it. For the feminine energy doing that, this is that, again, that tough work of holding back, pulling away from something, and saying to someone at the time, like, I know they don't understand this, but hopefully on the day that they do, they'll be the first ones to come and acknowledge it. And this is that feminine energy effectively holding forth and doing that difficult love because they're manifesting the aspiration of how they want to build with the masculine and saying, I look towards that day that comes towards me, either through the connection I feel with that energy or through someone else. And that's how the feminine is effectively, again, moving forward, but also healing the energetic, what would typically in the past be an unhealed karmic connection, almost immediately healing it as they proceed forward from this point. For the energy that's coming into healing over this is seeing someone coming back in this way and saying, I understand why you did that. I understand why you pushed me away. I understand what I need to give forth now. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Six of Swords in combination with our Two of Swords. This is that heavier energy. One card to clarify clarification. Oh, look at these two today. Look how cute. Look, everybody's so sensitive today. It's good. We got our matching energy here. So this is the energy of masculine and feminine in the divine union being in alignment, right? And it's vulnerable. But the problem is, and this is why I'm telling you guys, don't let yourself get triggered today. Don't let yourself get triggered. Don't you dare be passive aggressive today. Because what do we see? A lot of vulnerability coming into play here. Potentially a lot of that vulnerable energy because something about coming into that point, trying to find that happy medium, it's a little hairy today. It's pushing you out of your comfort zone. It's going to be harder for the energy in the heart of the divine union because it's not allowing necessarily for some breakthroughs. Some of it feels like that moment of accepting situations as they are to be able to continue forward in the divine union frequency. It's a little triggering. Look at this. Look at all these swords here. It's a little triggering for both masculine and feminine energy right now. Both. Why? Because masculine is feeling very much that confidence is growing. That confidence is building. It's firming up. Everything about this is just firming up to the masculine, what they aspire and desire for. Feminine is feeling the same thing, but feminine doesn't want to effectively enact as many changes right now as the masculine. So you can see now both energies. I don't want you guys to let this become a triggering moment because there's a lot of expressions potentially right now of anxieties, doubts, and fears. So being able to articulate right now is going to feel like a lot of fear alleviation, right? And some of this is going to be, again, these energies gently encouraging and pushing themselves into some uncomfortable conversations. And some of them could be like, why are you afraid of moving forward? Why are you afraid of slowing down, right? That could be almost like some of that energy that we're seeing here for both the energy in the divine union and the energy coming into divine union. This is all those doubts. And remember I told you the doubts and the fears rising to the surface, but becoming healed in the moment you reveal them because you're utilizing them not to throw at each other, not to accuse, not to subject someone to your emotions, to articulate how you're feeling. That's what we're seeing is happening right now for the energy in the divine union frequency and the energy coming into it. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is that point of acceptance, and it's hard. Look at these energies. These energies in separation, I told you, they're equipped to just meet each other on the way. I told you, they're bumping into each other right now. Because either these are the energies right now that are coming into restoration. Masculine, accepting their, like potentially to feminine, accepting their own accountability and what may have gone wrong to allow to show some ability of what's going to be right going forward. Feminine being very trepidatious for fear of not necessarily seeing the consistency here. Masculine, if you're coming into healing with feminine, if you're coming into healing with feminine, seeing a feminine that's almost saying to you, I am in alignment with you. You just surprised me. This is the masculine almost immediately trying to be as open and honest as possible with the feminine now to reaffirm and reassure, to make sure that that is the case. Because this is a masculine that wants to continue to even do the work of making sure that this isn't a feminine that's changing too much of their internal components, if you will, to try to be in alignment with masculine. For the energy right now that's come into a point of acceptance, seeing something coming towards them, recognizing the desire for someone to build back forth with them, but not seeing the changes necessary to allow for a productive or healed connection. This is that acceptance point. Look at masculine and feminine both holding space and saying, this is going to hurt like hell, but I'm going to do it anyway. This is making that choice, that grace of sacrifice, saying, I have to let something go because I know that that's what's best. For masculine, that's potentially, again, letting a feminine energy continue forward on their path and saying to themselves, like, I know in my heart that that's the best thing to do. While for feminine, this is hoping and aspiring and feeling that need or desire of hoping that the masculine energy will come back towards you in a moment when they understand exactly what they need to change to be able to have a more productive, positive connection. What's difficult for both of these energies right now in this release process, this is an energetic act of love that someone may be trying to amplify confusion on, not understanding why you're doing it, as it were. And even now it feels, again, like almost like the energy feels a lot of guilt, because it's almost like someone trying to paint you as like, being unreasonable when you're trying to say to someone, no, you simply can't see what I'm trying to show you. So that's why we see that this is so difficult right now for a lot of the energy experiencing this. But I'll also say, look at these energies that are walking away from this right now. They're on the exact same path. They're just not together. So again, the chance and possibility of these energies coming into alignment at a moment that they're both deeply healing. I told you, two energies with love, gently moving away from someone and bumping into each other on the way. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Two of Swords in combination with our King of Pentacles. Clarification. We love this. You see, this card was in its upright yesterday. Today it's in its reversal. We've got catharsis. We've got healing, that recognition point. And again, where's the instant healing coming through? Where does the instant healing coming through? Is it hurting? Yes. For some of the energy and separation, it's hurting. But it's a hurt that says, I'm doing the right thing. The minute we say, I am hurting, but I am doing the right thing, immediate healing. Immediate energetic healing. Immediate. I'm hurting. I'm doing the right thing. I'm letting something go. It hurts. I'm doing the right thing. Immediate healing. Even holding the pain, even experiencing that heartbreak, even holding forth that energetic equivalent, immediate catharsis, because that is that sense of, again, restoration. Not the amplification of not allowing what you see that is wrong and amplifying it by re-entering it, making the choice and saying, I have to let this go because that is the right thing to do. That is energetically happening here, and it hurts. But sometimes things need to hurt to heal. For masculine and feminine energy, this is difficult. For masculine specifically, that almost feels like an immediate maturation process. Because again, feeling like one is letting something go that you aspire and desire, but feeling in your heart that you're doing the right thing, that feels like a moment into maturation of self. Doing that difficult work, choosing what you know is the right thing to do, immediately allows for that point of catharsis. For feminine, having that aspiration, releasing a masculine that's coming towards you too much in a space of anger, fear, anxiety, Almost saying to the masculine, I'm not doing this because I don't love you. It's because I hope that you can rise to becoming your best version of self and understand that I need you to be in a space or place of working with me instead of looking at me as an oasis, like an oasis instead of a garden. That the partnership can't be one based on you getting a need fulfilled, and instead one that we put forth towards. That is that moment that we're effectively seeing that is amplifying and articulating the feminine that is feeling like, again, it's difficult, but they're doing the right thing. And that itself immediately brings forward or manifests that point of healing, because that is focusing on the manifestation goal, which is saying, I hope that you come back to me when you're ready to do this work. I'm facilitating that healing with the hope that it will occur. Final card for today's spread, between. And for the energy coming into healing right now, seeing that expression, it feels like instantaneous relief, even though there is a wait and see. So feeling and seeing that that has occurred, feeling like that work was valuable and worth it, immediately allows for some kind of energetic catharsis, because it's almost seeing that that work is being recognized for what it is. And even that can feel like a bit of a sigh of relief. Final card for today's spread, between our King of Swords and our Nine of Wands, Nine of Swords in its reversal. Wheel of Fortune, and it's in its upright. So again, we love this. We've got some beautiful cards of progress occurring today, both with the World and the Wheel of Fortune. Sometimes we have to have that moment, have those difficult conversations. We can have difficult conversations in productive ways as long as we operate from a state that is not defensive, but it is vulnerable, authentic, honest, not coming into a space or place of subjecting someone to our emotions, but instead offering them, providing that context. We see here that the energy in the divine union, having those difficult, tricky conversations, but all for the sake of having that easement going forward, both articulated in coming into better alignment. And this is that progressive moment we see that requires both masculine and feminine energy to push a little bit outside their comfort zone, but then are immediately getting the reward of seeing that progressive moment occurring. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union, you're pretty much experiencing the same thing right now, especially if there was some point of clarification and insight that you're reaching recently in relationality to the fact that you both may have different ways of moving when you're both trying to reach the same end goal. I told you, this is the clarification that happened if you didn't let yourself fall back into separation by acting out against your anxieties and fears, but instead offering each other the doubts and fears, not projecting them, not subjecting someone to your emotions, but instead articulating on how you're feeling to get that clarity, that reassurance, that context, immediately coming into the divine union frequency. But again, finding that point, much like the energy in the divine union right now in terms of how to move forward from this point, may feel like a little bit of that tricky work. Masculine and feminine in separation right now, this is that catharsis moment. I told you, for some of the energy right now that is coming into an act of profound release, recognizing and identifying that you may have a lot of love, care, sympathy for another energy, that the choices that you're making right now, it's not happening because of, it's not something you're doing because of a lack of love. You're doing it despite the love you feel. You're doing that for the sake of the love that you feel. You're doing it because your love for another person extends beyond what you might feel might create an immediate sense of satisfaction, but instead the aspiration and hope in what you might aspire for another energy to be able to reach with you, or even being able to understand that you're on a very different journey than someone else and being able to almost love them from afar, as it were. For some of the masculine energy, this is that immediate energetic catharsis. That's that bomb that's coming back to you in a big way, because recognizing and identifying and saying to oneself, I know I am doing the right thing, is what allows for that feeling of being able to move forward, even if it is difficult. Bottom of the deck on this reading right now is Six of Wands. Not surprised to see this right now, because what we're effectively seeing at this time for a lot of the energy is moving off into this space right now. Feels like you don't know what that success point is. I need to stress what's so beautiful right now energetically for a lot of this energy. This observational point, it's not like you're leapfrogging from like one thing to another right now. This is that moment of effectively not knowing what the future holds. Having that moment, staying in that point of stillness, taking a bit of that wait and see approach, it's anxiety inducing. Because again, you're not necessarily doing something that you feel is creating that sense of victory. You're doing what you know you need, like what you're moving away from what you know isn't, right? And so even now, this is that sense of, again, it's like you can't see what's around the corner. So that moment right now, for a lot of the energy, it may feel like you're doing this and it feels very energetically low because it doesn't feel like a win. It feels like you're coming into a potential point of acceptance, but not recognizing that your ability to accept and understand that you're doing something from a place of love for the care of another person is the victory. It is the energetic spiritual milestone. Like, that's what the guides are effectively trying to show you here, because that in itself is like the personal victory moment, because you're making choices not just based on what feels immediately like gratifying. You're making that choice in terms of what you know is right. Masculine and feminine, even now coming into the energy that is coming into back into union here. You don't know if this is going to happen. You're taking that wait and see approach. But again, you're not just navigating from you're not just throwing yourself back in because you want something to be right. You're taking that slow wait and see approach to see if that change is truly consistent and effective. While for masculine and feminine in the heart of the divine union frequency right now, are coming into divine union, the energy that is coming into divine union, feeling this success metric, this is going to be articulated in someone saying, if things are going so well, why do I feel so sad right now? Well, if you just came into divine union and suddenly that's creating context on all the places and spaces that did not provide that, it's not, I told you, it's a heart opening. It's not surprising that you may be feeling very high right now and happy, but also very low, because what you're experiencing in the present is amplifying what you didn't receive in the past. While as for the energy right now that's in the heart of the divine union, trying to find that point of moderation doesn't so much feel like you're moving in the space or place of having a victory. This is going to be like one of those reminders that like brings up that like the sign of a good compromise is if two people leave feeling like they didn't get what they wanted. Then you're probably heading in the right direction, because we see even now here, there's a little bit of that. I told you, don't let yourself get passive aggressive here, because some of that feeling of like not getting your immediate gratification point may feel a little bit like frustrating right now in relationality to like what you need to accommodate and just to be able to move forward with the divine union. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, gracestrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber ID at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading and you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never PM you. I will never DM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I'd like to thank you guys so much for being here today and receiving these messages, and we will do this again.